We just found something at the money pit on the wash table. It looks like a piece of parchment.
Okay.
In the Interpretive Center, Rick Lagina, along with Craig Tester and Laird Niven, are meeting with imaging experts John Genke and David Sampson to have the possible parchment just found in the TF1 spoils analyzed in the Skyscan 1273 device.
Yeah, we're scanning.
Okay. So the next step, once we have all of those different slices collected, is that we're going to reconstruct the original sample. Now, on the image itself, what you're seeing is these very straight lines on the top and the bottom. So that's the actual pieces of paper that we've inserted in order to hold the parchment in place. And the parchment's going down the center line.
I would expect to see some sort of fiber.
Isn't that fibers you're seeing sticking out the sides, though, or not?
Yeah, I'm starting to see that same thing, Craig.
Especially up top there. Yeah,
Yep.
right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good news is iron, in particular, when it's hit with X-rays, it tends to glow. It's a process called fluorescence. So if we see a lot of those rays coming out from it, it could be indicative of iron. So as we're looking at that center line where we'd expect the parchment, you can see those very, very bright spots. That could actually be some of the writing.
Some of the older inks were made of gall, and so that is a metal. It's an iron-based ink.
Iron gall ink, also known as oak gall ink, is composed of iron salts and tannic acids from vegetable sources and was developed in Europe during the 5th century AD. Ever since the discovery of parchment deep in the money pit back in 1897, many researchers have speculated that the treasure lying deep in the booby-trapped money pit is composed of not just gold, silver, and jewels, but also priceless documents.
Even if the ink itself is no longer readable, that iron should be left behind and should be visible.
Is it possible that the team has found more evidence that this theory could be true? If so, what sort of documents would someone want to hide by such ingenious means?
If we had actual proof that there were a book, a parchment, an old tome, that depth in the money pit, it's all exciting.
So at this point in time, can you make a determination whether it's parchment or something completely else?
What we can say at this point is that we tend to see some lines, which would be indicative of, say, a type of parchment. Generally, when we've looked, though, at more modern fibers, that structure becomes very apparent very quickly. Here, we're seeing more of a rudimentary style to it. The fibers seem to be a little bit larger. Yes. It likely wasn't placed there recently, that it has some historical context to it. So we are likely looking at something, a little bit older. So, my suggestion would be that we set up a little bit longer scan, get a little bit higher resolution on this, and then we get back together maybe in the war room.
I think that's a proper plan. Right. Let's do the high-res scan and see what happens.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right, we'll get that started.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
The following morning,
So guys, today we have the gentlemen from Brooker, John and David.
Morning, Marty.
brothers Rick and Marty Lagina and members of their team are meeting in the war room with imaging experts David Sampson and John Genke regarding the possible parchment discovered one day ago in the spoils from the TF1 shaft.
So yesterday we gave them the parchment that Jack found, and we got incomplete information yesterday. So these gentlemen were kind enough to rerun the sample at a higher res, and I believe this is the information they're going to present to us today.
Yeah, so we looked at this piece of what we're calling parchment, and what we see is that there's some striations in it. So if you look, carefully, you can see that there's directionality. Now, when we think about indelible types of material that people would write on in the past, one thing you would generally find in that is not so much of this specific striation. Now, that being said, one nice thing about this technology, though, is that we can actually look deeper. So, Dave, maybe if you could bring up a cross-section.
Sure.
as you see those little streaks coming off, that tends to come from materials like iron. So iron glows when you hit it with X-rays. And that's what we're seeing here, just a little artifact from that glow.
I saw those shiny bits up at the table. Are you saying those are iron?
Well, we can refer to it as it's high density, likely iron.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that older ink has a high iron content.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wouldn't expect to see that as a big chunk of iron, though. I'd more likely see that as some sort of streaking across the material.
Yeah.
This one is a little bit different colored.
From this, what we can see now is relative densities. And as we look at that inner part, it tends to indicate that we're looking more at a paper, probably a cellulose type product, not necessarily an animal skin.
Right. What about the green and the blue blob?
Very good question.
Yeah.
So blue now, that's your little chunks of the iron.
Oh.
The green, now what are we looking at there? Well, that's when we started thinking. We brought in a little bit of context from what could be present at the site. And one thought was that this could be a coated paper product, something very traditionally found maybe somewhere around here. Might be something coated with wax.
It held up.
So it'll hold up, it's resistant to moisture. In fact, it's so resistant to moisture, it's typically used for say, wrapping explosives.
Is that what you think it is?
Yeah.
Well, that definitely matches the historical record.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the fall of 1909, upon reaching a depth of nearly 100 feet in the Money Pit, workers of Franklin Roosevelt's Old Gold Salvage Company exploded dynamite in the shaft, hoping to not only clear the debris from the 1861 collapse, but also as an attempt to seal off the flow of seawater from the flood tunnel. The effort failed on both counts, and the company would close down operations at the end of the year. Could the team have now determined why they discovered only small fragments of gold earlier this year during their core drilling program? And if so, since they have also detected high concentrations of both silver and gold where they are currently digging EC1, could that mean they are on course to locate the vast cache of treasure that people have been trying to find since 1795?
If dynamite was dropped somewhere right near a treasure, you might tend to find small bits of metal with gold on them, and we did. So that's good. That's good stuff. It makes us keep looking.
What's important is that we were able to discern what it was. It's about what the technology can tell us, how we can use that information to perhaps provide us with greater understanding of what happened out on this quite mysterious place.
All right. Very, very, very great presentation. And we're impressed. So let's go look at some more stuff as soon as you're able. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go.